She hadn't let a man touch her in 20 years, until a wrong door and a steadying hand shattered the walls she'd built around her heart. Claire Whitmore, CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, thought she had control over everything in her perfectly ordered world. But when Marcus, a night shift worker with kind eyes and a 6-year-old daughter, stumbled into her life during a panic attack, everything began to unravel. What started as innocent conversations over late-night coffee would soon threaten her biggest business deal, spark custody battles, and force her to choose between the reputation she'd spent decades building and a love she never saw coming. But someone was watching, someone was taking notes, and someone was about to use her newfound happiness as a weapon against everything she'd worked for. The anonymous emails were just the beginning, because when a powerful woman dares to love across the lines society has drawn, the price of that courage might be higher than she ever imagined. If you're watching this incredible love story unfold, hit that subscribe button and tell me where you're watching from. I want to know which corner of the world believes in second chances and brave hearts. The conference room buzzed with voices and the click of heels on marble. Claire Whitmore stood near the window, watching rain streak the glass. Her chest felt tight. The noise pressed against her like a weight. She needed air, quiet, space to breathe. Claire slipped out of the main room and down a dim hallway. The sounds faded behind her. She tried a door handle. It turned easily. The room was small and dark, filled with folding chairs and cleaning supplies. Perfect. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. The silence felt like cool water. She pressed her back against the wall and closed her eyes. Her heart was racing for no good reason. This always happened at big events. Too many people, too much noise, too much. The door swung open. A man stepped in carrying a metal toolbox. He was tall, with dark skin and kind eyes. When he saw her, he stopped. "Oh, sorry, wrong room." He started to back out. Claire swayed on her feet. The tight feeling in her chest was getting worse. Black spots danced at the edges of her vision. The man stepped forward without thinking. His hands caught her arms, steadying her. His touch was gentle, but sure. "Easy," he said softly. "You're okay." Claire looked up at him. She hadn't let anyone touch her in 20 years, not once. But his hands on her arms felt safe, warm, real. She breathed in, out, in again, 3 breaths. That was all she allowed herself. Then she stepped back. The man dropped his hands immediately. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was steady now, professional. "I'm Claire." "Marcus." He studied her face with concern. "You sure you're okay?" "Yes, fine." She smoothed her jacket. "Just needed a moment." Marcus reached into his toolbox and pulled out a bottle of water. He set it on a nearby table. "Might help," he said. "You don't have to. It's just water." He gave her a small smile. "Take care, Claire." He left, closing the door gently behind him. Claire stared at the bottle. A simple kindness from a stranger. When was the last time someone had offered her something without wanting anything back? She picked up the bottle and held it in both hands. Her arms still tingled where he had touched her. 20 minutes later, Claire walked back into the conference hall. Her team was setting up for the evening presentation. Everything was exactly as she had left it, but she felt different somehow. "Claire, there you are." Her assistant rushed over with a tablet. "The catering manager needs to confirm the dessert count." "Tell him 75. Claire's voice was calm. She gripped the water bottle in her left hand. "Done, and the tech team wants to run through the slide transitions one more time." "Good, schedule that for 8 o'clock. Claire moved through her tasks with her usual efficiency, but every few minutes she found herself looking toward the hallway where Marcus had disappeared. At 8:40, she needed to use the restroom. The women's lounge was empty and quiet. She set the water bottle on the counter while she washed her hands. That's when she saw it. A small, yellow, sticky note on the bottle. Breathe, M. The simple word hit her harder than it should have. He had noticed her panic, cared enough to leave a reminder. Claire pulled the note off carefully and slipped it into her jacket pocket. As she walked back toward the conference rooms, she saw him again. Marcus was carrying a tall ladder down a service corridor. Their eyes met for just a second. He nodded. She nodded back. Neither of them stopped walking. An hour later, the fire alarm chirped once. Red lights flashed on the walls for about 10 seconds, then stopped. False alarm, someone called out. System glitch. Claire was standing near the elevator bank when she heard footsteps. Marcus appeared with an older Asian woman in a business suit. Let's check the panel on this floor first, the woman was saying. She had a badge that read, Eleanor Park, General Manager. Yes, ma'am. Marcus carried a small tablet and wore work gloves. Eleanor noticed Claire. Miss Whitmore, I'm sorry about the alarm. We'll have it sorted in just a few minutes. No problem. Claire stepped aside to give them room. Marcus knelt by a control panel on the wall. He opened it carefully and checked a row of small lights inside. Claire found herself watching his hands. They moved with quiet confidence. Sensor on the 3rd floor, he said to Eleanor. I can reset it from here. He pressed a few buttons. The panel beeped softly and turned green. All clear, Eleanor said. She looked at Claire. Sorry again for the interruption. Really, it's fine. Eleanor walked away, already on her phone with someone about the system check. Marcus closed the panel and gathered his tools. Claire stepped toward the elevator. The doors opened immediately. Going down? Marcus asked. He was standing near the call button. Yes. He held the door for her without reaching inside the car. Just stood there, keeping it open with his arm. Thank you. She stepped inside. Have a good evening, Claire. The doors closed before she could answer. 10 minutes later, Claire stood at the front desk, talking to Eleanor about rescheduling tomorrow's breakfast meeting. The lobby was quiet now, most of the evening events winding down. She heard Marcus's voice behind her. Night shift for Marcus Hale, he was saying to the desk clerk. Monday through Friday this week? Claire felt something shift inside her chest. He worked here. He would be here every night this week. Regular rotation, the clerk asked. Covering for Jake. He's got the flu. Eleanor finished signing Claire's paperwork and handed it back. Marcus is one of our best technicians, she said casually. We're lucky he can cover the night shift. Claire nodded, not trusting her voice. Marcus finished at the desk and walked toward the staff elevators. He didn't look her way, but she felt like he knew she was there. Claire found herself in a quiet alcove near the gift shop, just breathing. The felt normal now, but her mind was spinning. She would see him again tomorrow night, and the night after that. She told herself this meant nothing. She would keep to business, stay professional, focus on the week ahead, but her fingers kept touching the sticky note in her pocket. Later that night, Claire was riding the elevator to the parking garage when it shuttered and stopped between floors. The lights stayed on, but nothing happened when she pressed the buttons. She picked up the emergency phone. It rang twice. Front desk, this is Kevin. This is Claire Whitmore. The elevator is stuck between the 3rd and 4th floors. Yes, ma'am. I'll send someone right up. Probably just a power hiccup. You doing okay in there? Claire's chest was starting to feel tight again. The small space seemed to be getting smaller. Yes, fine. 5 minutes later, she heard footsteps in the hallway outside. "Claire?" It was Marcus's voice. "I'm here to help. The power company is resetting something, so this might take a few minutes. You hanging in there?" "Yes." Her voice sounded thin, even to herself. "Okay, talk to me. What do you see?" "What?" "In the elevator. Describe it." Claire looked around. Wood panels? Brass buttons? A mirror?" "Good. How many buttons?" "6. No, 7. There's a basement level." "Right. And the ceiling?" "White tiles, 12 of them. Keep counting things. It helps." Claire looked at the brass rail around the walls. 16 screws holding up the handrail. "Perfect. You're doing great." His voice was calm and steady, like an anchor in rough water. "Tell me about your favorite city," Marcus said. "What? Any city. Real or imaginary? What does it look like?" Claire closed her eyes. "San Francisco. Hills covered in white houses. Fog rolling in from the ocean." "I've never been there. What else?" "Trolley cars that clang when they go down the steep streets. Seals barking at the wharf." The elevator suddenly hummed to life. The floor numbers lit up as they passed. When the doors opened, Marcus was standing there. He looked relieved. "See? Told you it wouldn't take long." Claire stepped out on shaky legs. She found herself standing closer to him than she'd planned. Close enough to see the small scar above his left eyebrow. Close enough to smell his soap. "Thank you," she said. "You're okay." It wasn't a question. He could see she was steady now. "Yes, I am." They stood there for a moment in the quiet hallway. Claire felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. Then Marcus stepped back and picked up his toolbox. "Good night, Claire." "Good night." She watched him walk toward the stairwell, then headed for the parking garage. But she wasn't thinking about her car or the drive home. She was thinking about the way he had talked her through the panic without making her feel weak or broken. The next morning was Tuesday. Claire arrived at the hotel early for vendor meetings. She stopped at the front desk to pick up messages. The young clerk handed her a small paper bag. "This came for you yesterday evening," he said. "From Mr. Hale's daughter." Claire opened the bag carefully. Inside was a small owl made of brown felt. It had crooked button eyes and stitched wings. A folded note was tied around its neck with green yarn. "For brave knights, love, Ava." Claire stared at the little owl. A 6-year-old had made this for her, a child who didn't even know her. "Please tell them thank you," she said to the clerk. "Will do, Miss Whitmore." Claire went upstairs to her meetings, but she kept the owl in her jacket pocket. Every time she touched it, she thought about Marcus talking her through her panic. His steady voice saying, "You're doing great." That night, she found herself in the staff cafeteria at midnight. She told herself she was there for the chamomile tea the clerk had mentioned. It had nothing to do with hoping to see Marcus. The cafeteria was mostly empty. A few people sat scattered at tables, eating late dinners or catching up on paperwork. Claire ordered her tea and sat at a small table by the window. "Mind if I sit?" She looked up. Marcus stood there with a cup of coffee and a sandwich. "Of course." She gestured to the chair across from her. He sat down, leaving one empty chair between them. "Thank you for the message about the owl. Ava was excited you liked it." "It's beautiful. She's very talented." "She makes them when she can't sleep. Says they watch over people who need brave dreams." Claire touched the owl in her pocket. "That's lovely." They drank their beverages in comfortable silence. The cafeteria felt peaceful at this hour. Calm. "Busy week for you," Marcus said eventually. "Yes, big acquisition vote on Friday. Everything has to go perfectly. Lot of pressure. I'm used to it." Claire paused. What about you? How long have you worked here?
3 years. Good job. Good people.
Marcus took a sip of coffee.
Ava likes that I'm home when she gets up for school.
How old is she?
6. Just started first grade. His whole face softened when he talked about his daughter.
She's amazing. Smart, funny, draws constantly. Claire found herself smiling. Sounds like she gets the artistic talent from you.
No, that's all her. I just fix things.
Near the back of the room, someone was taking photos of the late shift staff for the hotel newsletter. The camera flashed a few times, catching various tables. Claire barely noticed. She was watching Marcus talk about his daughter's latest art project.
She wants to paint a mural on her bedroom wall, he was saying. Something with owls and trees and maybe a castle.
That sounds magical.
Yeah. Marcus smiled. I told her we'd start this weekend.
They finished their drinks and headed toward the exit together. In the hallway, they paused at the intersection where their paths split.
Good night, Marcus.
Good night, Claire. She walked toward the main elevators. He headed for the staff areas. Claire glanced back once. So did he. The next morning, Claire was in her office across the street when her phone buzzed with messages. Her CFO, Graham, had sent a photo to their group chat. It was from the hotel newsletter shoot. The photographer had caught several tables in the frame, including hers and Marcus's. They were talking, both looking relaxed. Someone had added a winky face emoji. Graham's next message appeared. Keep optics tight this week. Claire stared at the photo. It looked innocent enough. Two people having late-night coffee in a public space, but she could see how it might seem to others. She was the CEO of a major company. He was a night shift worker. People would make assumptions. Claire looked at the felt owl sitting on her desk lamp. She had pinned it there this morning, a small reminder of kindness in her busy day. She picked up her phone and typed a message to Graham. Understood. All interactions remain professional. Then she deleted it and typed, Message received. That evening, Claire was back at the hotel for final preparations. Marcus was clocking out as she entered the lobby. Good morning, he said politely. Good morning? Her voice was equally professional. They passed each other without stopping. But Claire felt the loss of something she had just started to enjoy. Up in her conference room, she sat down and looked out at the busy street below. The acquisition vote was only 3 days away. Everything needed to go smoothly. She thought about the photo, about Graham's warning, about the careful distance she had always maintained between herself and everyone else. For 20 years, that distance had kept her safe, protected, in control. But for the first time in her adult life, she wondered what it had cost her. Claire pulled out her phone and scrolled back to the newsletter photo. Marcus was leaning forward slightly, listening to something she was saying. His expression was attentive and kind. When was the last time someone had looked at her like that? Like she was interesting, not because of her title or her money, but just because she was herself? She couldn't remember. Outside her window, the city moved on with its usual rush. But inside the quiet conference room, Claire allowed herself to admit something she had been avoiding. She wanted to see Marcus again, not for business, not for hotel matters, just to see him. The realization scared her more than any boardroom presentation ever had. But as she watched the sun set over the busy street, she found herself making a decision. She would be careful, professional, but she wouldn't run away from the first real connection she had felt in decades. Tomorrow night, she would find a reason to be in the staff cafeteria again. Tomorrow night, she would see what happened when two people chose to be brave enough for honest conversation. Even if it was just for a few minutes. Even if it was risky, because sometimes The greatest risk was not taking one at all. The next morning, Claire stood in the hotel lobby at 7:15. She had arrived early for vendor meetings, but that wasn't the real reason she was here. She wanted to see Marcus before he left for the day. He appeared near the staff elevators at 7:12, carrying his toolbox and looking tired after the long night shift. "Marcus!" He turned at the sound of her voice. "Claire, good morning. Do you have a minute? I wanted to talk about boundaries." Marcus glanced around the busy lobby. "Sure. Public space, right?" They sat in 2 chairs near the front windows. Early morning light streamed across the marble floor. "About last night," Claire said. "The photo, I mean. I want to be clear about something." "Okay. I enjoy talking with you, but this week is important for my company. The acquisition vote happens Friday. Everything needs to stay professional." Marcus nodded. "I understand. Public spaces only. Brief conversations." "Exactly." Claire felt relieved. "I don't want anyone to think that I'm taking advantage of my position here." Claire looked at him sharply. "That's not what I meant." "No? Because that's usually what people think. Night shift guy getting friendly with the executive." His voice wasn't angry, just tired, like he had heard this story before. "I don't think that," Claire said quietly. "Good, because I've got my daughter to think about. Her routine comes first. Always." "Of course it does." Marcus stood up. "I need to get home. Ava has breakfast at 7:30, then I walk her to school." "That's nice. The morning. Routine. She counts on it." He picked up his toolbox. "See you tonight, Claire. In public." She watched him walk toward the parking garage. Something about the conversation felt unfinished, but she couldn't put her finger on what. That evening, Claire was reviewing contracts in her temporary conference room when the lights started flickering. First the overhead bulbs, then the table lamps. Her assistant knocked on the door. "The front desk says they're sending someone up to check the electrical panel." 20 minutes later, Marcus appeared in the doorway with his toolbox. "Electrical issue?" he asked. "The lights keep flickering." Marcus looked up at the ceiling fixtures. "Probably a loose connection in the panel. Mind if I take a look?" "Go ahead." He set up a small ladder and opened a ceiling panel near the conference table. Claire could have left him to work alone, but she found herself staying. "You don't have to wait," Marcus said, adjusting something above the tiles. "I know, but it's after hours. Company policy says someone should be here when vendors are working." "I'm not exactly a vendor." "Same rule applies." Marcus smiled slightly. "Fair enough." They talked while he worked. Easy conversation about small things. School lunch menus. The best place to buy chamomile tea. How rain always made old buildings creak. "My daughter loves rainy nights," Marcus said, testing a wire connection. "Says they sound like the building is telling stories." "That's poetic." "Ava sees magic in everything. Last week she found a puddle shaped like a heart and took pictures for an hour." Claire found herself smiling. 6-year-olds see the world differently. Better, I think. Marcus climbed down the ladder. "Try the lights now." Claire flipped the switch. The room flooded with steady light. "Perfect, thank you." "No problem." Marcus packed his tools. Should be good for the rest of the week. As he was leaving, a hotel staff member walked past in the hallway. The woman glanced into the room, noting the open door and the work order clipboard. 5 minutes later, Eleanor Park appeared. "Everything okay in here?" the general manager asked. "Yes, electrical issue resolved." Claire showed her the work order. "Marcus fixed it quickly." Eleanor made a note on her tablet. "Good, I'll log the completion time. 8:03. She paused in the doorway. "You know, Ms. Whitmore, that wrong room incident on Monday night? I looked into it." "Wrong room?"
When Marcus first met you, he was responding to a service call that got misrouted. Someone called about a broken lock on the 4th floor, but the system sent him to the wrong room number. Claire felt something click into place. So it was an accident. Work order error, not an intrusion. Just thought you should know. After Eleanor left, Claire sat alone in the bright conference room. Fate mixed with workplace error. Not an intrusion at all. Her phone buzzed with a message from Marcus, relayed through the front desk. That first night was a redirect. Claire read the slip of paper twice. Someone had been paying attention. Someone had made sure she knew the truth. Later that night, Marcus got a phone call at home while Ava was brushing her teeth. "Marcus, it's Tessa." His ex-wife's voice sounded tight. "I'm dropping off Ava's rain jacket. Be there in 10 minutes. Everything okay? We need to talk." Marcus helped Ava rinse her mouth and get into pajamas before Tessa arrived. His daughter was drawing at the kitchen table when the doorbell rang. "Here's the jacket," Tessa said, stepping inside. She was a small woman with nervous energy and sharp eyes. "Also, I've been thinking about the weekend schedule." "What about it?" "Maybe we should adjust things, if you're getting involved with new people." Marcus felt his shoulders tense. "What are you talking about?" "I heard some things. About you and some woman at the hotel." "From who?" Tessa waved her hand vaguely. "People talk. I just want to make sure Ava's routine stays stable." "Her routine is stable." Marcus kept his voice calm, aware that Ava was listening. "School every day, dinner at 6, stories before bed. Nothing has changed. But if you start bringing people around, I haven't brought anyone around, and I wouldn't without talking to you first." Ava looked up from her drawing. "Daddy, is Miss Claire in trouble?" Both adults turned to look at the little girl. "No, sweetheart. Why?" "Tessa sounds mad about her." Marcus knelt next to his daughter's chair. "Miss Claire isn't in trouble. Sometimes grown-ups worry about things that don't need worrying about." "Oh." Ava went back to her drawing. It was another felt owl, this one with purple wings. Tessa lowered her voice. "I'm just saying, Marcus, be careful. Think about what's best for Ava." "I always think about what's best for Ava." After his ex-wife left, Marcus helped Ava finish her drawing and tuck the new owl into her bed collection. "Daddy?" she said as he turned off her light. "Miss Claire seemed nice." "When did you meet Miss Claire?" "When you took me to work for the fire drill thing. She held my owl and said it was beautiful." Marcus had forgotten about that brief encounter. The fire alarm test had run late, and Tessa had given permission for Ava to wait with him rather than find a babysitter. "She was nice, wasn't she?" "Uh-huh. And she didn't try to fix my hair or tell me to speak up. She just listened." After Ava fell asleep, Marcus sat in his kitchen thinking. If he stepped back from Claire to protect both their reputations, what did that teach his daughter? That being careful was more important than being kind? That status differences meant people couldn't be friends? He didn't want Ava to learn those lessons. At 11 o'clock, Marcus returned to the hotel for his shift. He found Claire sitting on a bench in the small courtyard, under the covered awning. Light rain was falling outside. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. She gestured to the bench. He sat down, leaving one empty space between them. They watched the rain for a few minutes without talking. "I heard about the weekend schedule conversation," Claire said eventually. Marcus looked at her in surprise. "How?" "Eleanor mentioned that employee family matters sometimes affect work schedules. She didn't give details. Tessa's worried about Ava's stability. Change makes her nervous." "That's understandable." Claire pulled her jacket closer.
Being a single parent must be complicated. Some days, but Ava's the best thing in my life. Everything else is just details. Claire was quiet for a moment. I've never been anyone's best thing. The admission came out before she could stop it. Marcus turned to look at her. That's hard to believe. It's true, though. I'm good at business. I make smart decisions. I'm reliable. Claire shrugged. But I'm not anyone's favorite person. Why not? Because getting close to people is difficult for me. The touching thing. Claire's eyes widened. How did he know about that? You flinched when I steadied you Monday night, Marcus explained. But then you let me keep my hands there. Seemed like maybe you don't usually allow contact. I don't. Claire looked down at her hands. 20 years. That's a long time. It is. They sat in comfortable silence. The rain made soft sounds on the awning above them. You know what I do when elevators make me nervous? Marcus said. Count ceiling tiles? Sometimes, but mostly I count windows in tall buildings. Find one building and count every lit window I can see. Does it help? Usually. Gives my brain something specific to focus on instead of the worry. Claire looked across the courtyard at the office building across the street. 17 windows lit up on the 5th floor. Good. What about the 6th floor? 23. No, 24. Someone just turned on another light. They counted windows until the rain slowed to a gentle mist. I should go, Claire said finally. Early meeting tomorrow? Yeah, I've got actual work to do. They stood up at the same time, still maintaining their careful distance. Marcus? Yeah? This is nice, talking like this. It is. But slowly, right? Public spaces. Agreed. The next morning, Claire was in her office when Graham knocked on her door. He carried a manila folder and his usual serious expression. We need to talk about optics, he said, closing the door behind him. Graham, I've got a printout of that photo from Monday night. Someone forwarded it to 3 different board members yesterday. Claire felt her stomach drop. What photo? Graham opened the folder and pulled out an enlarged copy of the newsletter picture. In it, she and Marcus were leaning toward each other across the small cafeteria table, both looking relaxed and engaged. It's innocent enough, Graham said. But combined with reports that you've been seen talking to this employee multiple times? Reports from who? Does it matter? The point is, Friday's vote needs to be about business merits, not personal drama. Claire studied the photo. It captured a moment of genuine connection, something she hadn't experienced in years. Now it felt like evidence of wrongdoing. I understand your concern, she said carefully, but this is a staff cafeteria at 1 a.m. We were having coffee in a public space. The door was open. There's a work order logged for that evening. I know, and I trust your judgment. I'm just asking you to be extra careful until after Friday. Graham closed the folder. The acquisition is worth $40 million, Claire. We can't let anything distract from that. After he left, Claire sat at her desk for a long time. She thought about the board meeting, about her company's future, about the careful reputation she had built over 15 years. Then she thought about Marcus's quiet voice in the dark elevator, about Ava's felt owl sitting on her desk lamp, about the way it felt to count windows with someone who understood anxiety. At noon, she walked across the street to the hotel and stopped at the front desk. Could you thank Eleanor for keeping such detailed logs? She asked the clerk. It's helpful for our insurance purposes to have exact times and work order numbers. Sure thing, Ms. Whitmore. That evening, Eleanor stopped by Claire's conference room. I wanted to tell you something, the general manager said. About Monday night, when Marcus first found you in that prep room.
Yes? I had routed him to that area on purpose. I'd noticed signs that you were working too hard, staying too late. I wanted staff nearby in case anyone needed assistance. Claire looked up from her papers. You were watching out for me? It's part of my job to notice when guests might need support, even VIP guests who prefer to handle things alone. Eleanor paused in the doorway. I've been doing this for 20 years. I can tell the difference between inappropriate behavior and two people having respectful conversations in public spaces. After Eleanor left, Claire sat back in her chair. She had felt alone in this building, in this city, for so long. But maybe she hadn't been as alone as she thought. That night, the weather turned stormy. Claire was packing up her papers when the fire alarm started beeping, a scheduled test that was running longer than usual. She found Marcus in the lobby, talking on his radio about system diagnostics. Everything okay? She asked. Just taking longer than expected. Should be done in 20 minutes. A small voice piped up from behind a lobby chair. Daddy, is it time to go home now? Claire turned to see Ava peeking out from her hiding spot. She was wearing purple sneakers and carrying a backpack covered in owl stickers. Hey, sweetheart, Marcus said. Miss Claire, this is my daughter, Ava. Ava, remember Miss Claire? Hi, Ava said shyly. I made you another owl. It's purple this time. I would love to see it. Ava dug into her backpack and pulled out a felt owl with crooked purple wings and silver button eyes. It's for rainy nights, Ava explained. Purple owls are extra good at keeping bad dreams away. Claire knelt down to Ava's level. It's beautiful. You're very talented. Thank you, Ava beamed. Daddy says you like counting things when you're nervous. Sometimes, yes. I count my stuffed animals when I can't sleep. I have 16 now, but my favorite is still the first owl. The fire alarm finally stopped beeping. Marcus checked his radio. All clear, he said. Ready to head home, Bug? Can Miss Claire come with us? It's raining really hard. Claire looked outside. The storm had intensified while they were talking. Rain was coming down in sheets. That's not necessary, Claire started. Actually, Marcus interrupted, it's pretty bad out there. I could give you a ride to the parking garage if you want. Claire hesitated. A car ride would cross their agreed-upon boundaries. But the storm was getting worse, and the parking garage was 3 blocks away. Okay, she said. Thank you. Marcus's car was the older sedan, clean and well-maintained. Ava climbed into her booster seat in the back. Claire sat in the passenger seat, hyper-aware of the enclosed space. But as they drove through the stormy streets, something unexpected happened. She relaxed. Ava chattered about her day at school. Marcus hummed along to a song on the radio. The car felt warm and safe, like a small shelter from the storm. Miss Claire? Ava said from the back seat. Would you hold my new owl? It likes car rides. Claire took the purple owl and cradled it in her hands. Without thinking, she let her fingers rest on the back of Marcus's seat. You know this song? Marcus asked as a familiar tune came on. I think so. Ava knows all the words, don't you, Bug? Soon, all 3 of them were singing along badly to an old pop song. Claire couldn't remember the last time she had sung in a car. Maybe never. When they reached the parking garage, Claire felt strangely reluctant to get out. Thank you, she said, handing the owl back to Ava. For the ride, and for my new Brave Night protector. You're welcome, Ava said seriously. Drive safe, okay? I will. Marcus turned to look at her. Good night, Miss Claire. For the first time, she smiled at the formal address. Good night, both of you. As she walked to her car, Claire could hear Ava asking Marcus if they could invite Miss Claire for pancakes sometime. His answer was too soft to hear, but it made his daughter giggle.
Sitting in her own car, Claire realized something had shifted. The careful boundaries were still there, but they felt less like walls and more like guidelines. She drove home through the rain, thinking about purple owls and off-key singing, and the way Marcus had said her name like it mattered. Maybe this week didn't have to be about choosing between her career and connection. Maybe it could be about finding a way to have both. But first, she would have to be brave enough to trust that possibility. And trust, for Claire Whitmore, was still the scariest thing of all. Late that night, Claire sat in her office across from the hotel, staring at her laptop screen. She had been trying to work, but her mind kept drifting to the car ride, the easy conversation, Ava's giggles, the way Marcus had hummed along to the radio. She had enjoyed herself, really, truly enjoyed herself. When was the last time that had happened? Claire pulled out her phone and typed a message, then deleted it, typed another one, deleted that too. Finally, she settled on something simple. Thank you for the ride tonight, and for trusting me with Ava's owl. She sent it to the hotel front desk, with instructions to relay it to Marcus. 30 minutes later, a response came back. Thank you for singing with us. Ava wants to know if you like pancakes. Claire smiled despite herself. She typed back, I do like pancakes. Tell her thank you for asking. The response was quick. She says good. Have brave dreams. Claire closed her laptop and gathered her papers. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she might actually sleep well. But at 6:12 in the morning, her phone buzzed with an urgent message from Graham. Check your email. We have a problem. Claire sat up in bed and opened her laptop. In her inbox was a forwarded message from an anonymous sender. The subject line read, Concerns about Ms. Whitmore's professional conduct. The email was brief and carefully worded. During this critical week for the acquisition, I felt compelled to share observations about Ms. Whitmore's interactions with hotel staff. While I cannot speak to the nature of these relationships, the frequency and timing of contact seems inappropriate for someone in her position. I trust the board will handle this matter with appropriate discretion. There were no specific accusations, no proof of wrongdoing, just enough suggestion to plant doubt. Claire called Graham immediately. Who sent this? She asked. Anonymous email account. Could be anyone. Someone at the hotel? Maybe. Or someone who heard gossip and decided to cause trouble. Claire felt sick. Graham, I need you to know that nothing inappropriate has happened. We've followed every policy. Everything has been in public spaces with... I believe you, Graham interrupted. But the timing is terrible. 2 days before the vote. What do you want me to do? Keep your head down. Stay focused on business. Let me handle this. After hanging up, Claire sat in her dark bedroom for a long time. She thought about the anonymous email, about whoever had been watching her closely enough to notice her conversations with Marcus. She felt exposed, vulnerable, like a private moment had been turned into ammunition. At 7 in the morning, Claire was back at the hotel for final preparations. Marcus was clocking out as she entered the lobby. Good morning, he said. His tone was professional, but she caught something guarded in his expression. Good morning? They passed each other without stopping. But Claire noticed that Marcus kept his greeting brief, more distant than usual. Had he heard about the email too? That afternoon, while Claire was reviewing contracts, her assistant knocked on her door. There's someone here to see you. A Tessa Morgan? Claire looked up in surprise. Send her in. Ava's mother was smaller than Claire had expected. She wore jeans and a nervous expression. Ms. Whitmore, I'm Tessa, Ava's mom. Please sit down. Is everything okay? Tessa perched on the edge of a chair. I wanted to talk to you about the custody situation. I'm not sure I understand. Marcus mentioned that you've been friendly with him and Ava. Claire chose her words carefully. I've had a few brief conversations with your ex-husband, and I met Ava once during a fire drill. Right. Tessa twisted her hands in her lap. The thing is, I'm considering adjusting the custody schedule, and if Marcus is getting involved with someone new. We're not involved, Claire said firmly. We've had coffee in the hotel cafeteria and a few work-related conversations. That's all. But you like him? The blunt question caught Claire off guard. I think he's a kind person. He is. He's a good father. Tessa stood up. But Ava gets attached easily. If you're not serious about this, about them, then maybe it's better to keep your distance. After Tessa left, Claire sat alone in her conference room, feeling like the walls were closing in. Anonymous emails, custody concerns, board pressure. Everyone wanted her to step back, to play it safe. But that night, when she saw Marcus checking work orders at the front desk, she made a decision. Marcus, could I speak with you for a minute? He looked around the busy lobby. Public space? Of course. They sat in the same chairs by the front windows where they had talked about boundaries 2 days earlier. I heard Tessa came to see you, Marcus said. Yes, she's worried about Ava getting attached. Yeah, she mentioned that. Claire studied his face. Are you pulling back? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Maybe I should. For your vote, for Ava's routine, might be easier if I request different assignments until after Friday. Is that what you want? No. His answer was immediate. But it might be what's smart. For who? For everyone? Claire felt something inside her rebel against the careful logic. What if smart isn't the same as right? Marcus looked at her in surprise. I've spent 20 years being smart, Claire continued. Making safe choices, protecting myself, and you know what I have to show for it? A successful company and a completely empty personal life. Claire, I'm tired of being careful, Marcus. I'm tired of letting other people's assumptions dictate my choices. What are you saying? I'm saying that I like talking to you. I like your daughter. And I don't want to pretend otherwise just because some people might gossip. Marcus leaned back in his chair. The anonymous email? So he had heard about it. Among other things, yes. You know what happens if this goes bad, right? You might lose a vote. I could lose my job. I know. And Ava would learn that adults who care about each other don't run away at the first sign of difficulty. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. You sure about this? No, Claire admitted. I'm terrified, but I'm more scared of spending another 20 years wondering what might have happened if I had been brave enough to try. Okay, Marcus said finally. But we do this right. Open spaces, clear boundaries, everything documented. Agreed. And we talk to Eleanor together. Make sure she knows exactly what's happening. Good idea. They found Eleanor in her office 20 minutes later. The general manager listened while Claire explained the situation. The anonymous email, the board concerns, their decision to continue building a friendship despite the pressure. I appreciate you being direct, Eleanor said when Claire finished. And I want you to know that I've been documenting all interactions as a matter of policy. Work orders, timestamps, locations. Everything has been appropriate. She opened a file on her computer. If anyone questions the situation, I have complete records showing that all conversations took place in public areas during appropriate hours. No violations of any hotel policies. Would you be willing to provide that documentation if needed? Claire asked. Absolutely. As they left Eleanor's office, Marcus turned to Claire. Last chance to change your mind.
Are you changing yours? No. Then neither am I. The next day was Thursday. Claire spent the morning in final preparation meetings. The acquisition vote was scheduled for 3 o'clock on Friday. Everything was ready. But at noon, Graham appeared in her doorway, looking grim. "Another email," he said, closing the door behind him. "This one went to the whole board." Claire felt her stomach drop. "What does it say?" Graham handed her a printout. This email was longer and more detailed. It mentioned specific times and locations of her conversations with Marcus. It suggested that her judgment was compromised. It questioned whether someone who made such poor personal choices could be trusted with major business decisions. "This is more than gossip," Claire said. "Someone has been watching me closely, taking notes." "Looks like it." "Any idea who?" "No, but Claire, the board is asking questions. Some of them want to postpone the vote until this gets resolved." Claire set down the email. "What do you think I should do?" "Honestly, I think you should address it head on. Be completely transparent. Show them you have nothing to hide." "And if they vote against the acquisition because of this?" "Then we'll know where we stand." That evening, Claire found Marcus in the hotel courtyard, checking outdoor light fixtures. "We need to talk," she said. He set down his tools. "Bad news?" "Maybe. Another anonymous email went to the whole board, more detailed this time." Marcus ran a hand over his face. "What do you want to do?" "I'm going to tell them everything tomorrow, before the vote. Complete honesty." "That's risky." "Yes, it is." Claire sat on the bench where they had counted windows 2 nights earlier. "Marcus, I need to ask you something." "Okay." "If this goes badly tomorrow, if I lose the vote, or if there's more gossip, are you going to regret meeting me?" Marcus sat down beside her, closer than their usual careful distance. "Claire, 3 days ago, my daughter asked me why we don't say hi to you anymore. She asked if you weren't brave enough for friendship." "What did you tell her?" "That sometimes adults get scared of what other people think. But that being scared doesn't make you not brave." Marcus turned to look at her directly. "You being honest with your board tomorrow? That's brave. Whatever happens, I won't regret knowing you." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set over the courtyard. "Ava wants to know if you'll come to breakfast Saturday," Marcus said eventually. "Assuming the world doesn't end tomorrow?" Claire smiled. "I'd like that, assuming the world doesn't end." "Good. She's been practicing making pancakes. They're purple." "Purple pancakes sound perfect." The next morning, Claire stood outside the boardroom at 2:50. In 10 minutes, she would either secure the biggest deal of her career or watch it fall apart because she had chosen connection over caution. Graham appeared beside her. "Ready? Ready? Claire, for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing." "Thanks. That helps." At exactly 3 o'clock, Claire walked into the boardroom and took her seat at the head of the table. 12 board members looked back at her with various expressions of curiosity and concern. "Before we discuss the acquisition," Claire began, "I need to address the anonymous emails you've received about my conduct this week." The room was completely silent. "Here are the facts," Claire continued. "I have had several brief conversations with a hotel employee named Marcus Hale. These conversations took place in public spaces, the staff cafeteria, the lobby, the courtyard. All interactions were documented by hotel security and management. I have those records with me today." She pulled out Eleanor's file and set it on the table. "I want to be completely transparent about why these conversations occurred. On Monday night, I experienced a panic attack in a hotel prep room.
Mr. Hale helped me through it. Since then, we have had a few friendly conversations during his night shifts. One of the board members spoke up. Claire, we appreciate your honesty, but what does this have to do with our business? It has to do with judgment, Claire said. Someone has suggested that my personal choices call my professional judgment into question. I disagree. But I want you to make that determination based on facts, not anonymous accusations. She opened Eleanor's file. These are the complete records. Times, locations, witnesses. You'll see that every interaction has been appropriate and professional. For the next 10 minutes, Claire walked the board through the documentation. She answered every question directly and completely. She held nothing back. When she finished, the room was quiet. Questions? Claire asked. The board chair, an older woman named Margaret Collins, spoke first. Claire, I have to ask, are you romantically involved with this employee? No, but I hope we're becoming friends. And if gossip continues? Then I'll deal with it honestly, the way I'm dealing with it today. Margaret nodded. Any other questions for Claire about this matter? No one spoke. Then let's move on to the acquisition vote. For the next hour, the board discussed numbers, integration plans, and market projections. No one mentioned the anonymous emails again. At 4:02, Margaret called for the vote. All in favor of proceeding with the acquisition? 11 hands went up. Opposed? 1 hand. Abstaining? No hands. The motion passes, Margaret announced. Congratulations, Claire. Well done. After the board members left, Claire sat alone in the conference room for a few minutes. She had done it. The deal was approved, despite the gossip and the pressure. But more importantly, she had been completely honest, and the world hadn't ended. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. How did it go? Claire typed back. Good news. Are those purple pancakes still on the menu for tomorrow? Absolutely. Ava's been practicing all week. Tell her I can't wait. That evening, Claire returned to the hotel one more time. She found Marcus in the lobby, finishing his final shift of the week. Congratulations, he said. Eleanor told me the vote went well. Thank you. And Marcus? Tessa stopped by my office this afternoon. His expression grew concerned. What did she say? She wanted to observe us together, to see how we interact around Ava. And? We're having coffee tomorrow before breakfast. She wants to make sure any changes in Ava's life are positive ones. Marcus looked surprised. She's willing to meet you? She loves Ava. She wants what's best for her. Yeah, she does. They walked toward the front entrance together. At the door, Marcus paused. Claire, I'm proud of you for being honest with your board today. Are you proud enough to let me hold your hand? Marcus smiled and extended his hand. Claire took it, feeling the warmth and strength of his fingers. It was the first time she had voluntarily held hands with anyone in 20 years. How does it feel? Marcus asked softly. Scary, Claire admitted. But right. They stood together in the hotel lobby, holding hands like two people who had decided to be brave enough for something real. Outside, the city moved on with its usual rush. But inside the quiet hotel, two hearts that had been careful for too long finally chose to trust. Tomorrow, there would be purple pancakes and honest conversations. There would be a little girl who made felt owls and believed in brave dreams. But tonight, there was just this moment. Two people choosing connection over caution, choosing each other over the fear that had kept them apart. It felt like the beginning of something worth protecting. Something worth the risk of being completely, honestly, themselves. Saturday morning arrived with gentle sunshine and the smell of coffee drifting from Marcus's kitchen. Claire stood outside his apartment building at 8:30, holding a small bag from the bakery down the street. She had bought muffins, blueberry ones. It seemed like the kind of thing you brought to breakfast with a 6-year-old. Marcus answered the door wearing jeans and a t-shirt that read, "Dad Taxi Service." His smile was warm and a little nervous. "Right on time," he said. "Come in. Ava's been awake since 6, mixing pancake batter." Claire stepped into a small, tidy apartment filled with morning light. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator. A basket of felt owls sat on the coffee table. Everything felt lived in and loved. "Ms. Claire?" Ava appeared from the kitchen wearing an apron covered in flour. "I made purple pancakes. They're really purple." "I can't wait to see them," Claire said. "I brought muffins too, just in case." "Blueberry muffins and purple pancakes?" Ava announced. "That's a lot of purple food." "Purple is clearly the best breakfast color," Claire said seriously. Ava giggled and grabbed Claire's hand, tugging her toward the kitchen. Claire let herself be pulled along, marveling at how natural the small hand felt in hers. The kitchen was a cheerful disaster. Purple batter spotted the counter. Flour dusted the floor. But the pancakes on the griddle were indeed impressively purple. "I used food coloring," Ava explained. "Daddy said 2 drops, but I thought 5 would be better." 5 was definitely better, Claire agreed. Marcus flipped a pancake that was the color of grape juice. "She's very committed to her artistic vision." They sat at a small table by the window. Ava chattered about school while they ate purple pancakes that tasted surprisingly good. Claire found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in years. "Ms. Claire?" Ava said, cutting her pancake into careful triangles. "Are you going to be Daddy's friend for a long time?" The question was asked with 6-year-old directness. No hidden meanings or adult complications. "I hope so," Claire said. "Would that be okay with you?" "Yes, but you have to promise to come to more Saturday breakfasts." "I promise to try." "Good." Ava took a big bite of purple pancake. "Daddy makes the best coffee, and I make the best pancakes. We're a good team." Claire looked at Marcus across the table. He was watching his daughter with pure love in his expression. "You are a very good team," Claire agreed. After breakfast, they walked to the small park 3 blocks away. Ava ran ahead to the playground while Claire and Marcus sat on a bench in the morning sunshine. "This is nice," Claire said. "Normal. I'd forgotten what normal felt like." "Yeah?" Marcus stretched his long legs in front of him. "What does it usually feel like?" "Busy, scheduled, like I'm always performing for someone." "And this?" Claire watched Ava climb to the top of the slide. "Like I can just be myself." "I like yourself," Marcus said quietly. Claire felt warmth spread through her chest. "I like yourself too." They sat in comfortable silence, watching Ava play. Other families filled the playground. Parents pushing swings, toddlers chasing bubbles, kids climbing on jungle gyms. Claire had never imagined herself in a scene like this. But now that she was here, it felt surprisingly right. "Claire?" Marcus's voice was careful. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "The 20 years, the not letting anyone touch you. Do you want to talk about it?" Claire had known this question would come eventually. She had practiced different versions of the answer. "College," she said simply. "A relationship that went very wrong. I decided it was safer to keep people at a distance." Marcus nodded. "I'm sorry." "It wasn't. I survived it, but it changed how I thought about trust, about letting people get close." "And now?" Claire looked at her hands, then at Ava laughing on the swings. "Now I'm learning that some people are worth the risk. Even if it's scary? Especially because it's scary." Marcus reached over and took her hand. Not the careful, public hand-holding from last night, but something more relaxed, more real. "For what it's worth," he said, "I think you're worth the risk, too." That afternoon, Tessa arrived at the coffee shop where she and Claire had agreed to meet. She looked less nervous than she had in Claire's office, but still guarded. "Thank you for meeting me," Tessa said, sitting down across from Claire. "I wanted to understand what this is." "What do you mean?" "With Marcus and Ava, are you serious about them, or is this just something fun for now?" Claire had expected the question, but it still made her pause. Was she serious? She had known Marcus for less than a week. They had shared maybe a dozen conversations. But when she thought about Saturday mornings in his sunny kitchen, about Ava's purple pancakes, and Marcus's quiet kindness, the answer felt clear. "I'm serious about getting to know them better," Claire said. "I can't promise where it leads, but I can promise I'm not treating this casually. Ava gets attached quickly. Marcus does too, even though he pretends he doesn't." "I understand." Tessa stirred her coffee absently. "He's a good father, the best. But he's also been alone for 3 years. He deserves someone who appreciates what he brings to the table." "He does deserve that. And Ava deserves stability, people who show up consistently." "I agree." Tessa studied Claire's face for a long moment. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone more, I don't know, flashy, demanding. The kind of person who would want to change everything about Marcus's life." Claire shook her head. "I like Marcus's life exactly as it is. Saturday morning pancakes and bedtime stories and felt owls. I'd be honored to be part of it." Something in Tessa's expression softened. "Okay, but if you hurt them?" "I'll do my best not to." "Good, because they've both had enough hurt for one lifetime." After Tessa left, Claire walked through the city for an hour, thinking about the conversation, about promises and expectations, and the weight of other people's trust. She had spent 20 years protecting herself from exactly this kind of vulnerability. Now she was volunteering for it. But as she thought about Ava's laugh and Marcus's steady presence, she realized something had fundamentally shifted inside her. She wasn't just willing to take the risk. She wanted to. That evening, Claire returned to the hotel for the first time since the board meeting. She found Marcus in the lobby, not working, but waiting for her. "How did it go with Tessa?" he asked. "Good, I think. She's protective but fair." "Yeah, that sounds like her." Marcus gestured toward the courtyard. "Want to sit outside for a while?" They walked to their usual bench, but this time Marcus sat close enough that their shoulders touched. Claire didn't pull away. "So what happens now?" Marcus asked. "I was hoping you'd have some ideas about that." "Well, Ava wants to know if you'll come to her school art show next Friday. She's got 3 owl drawings in it." "I'd love to." "And I was thinking maybe next Saturday we could try making non-purple pancakes. You know, expand our breakfast horizons?" Claire laughed. "Sounds adventurous." "Yeah, well, I'm feeling pretty adventurous these days." They sat together as the sun set over the city. Claire thought about the week that had brought them together. The wrong door, the elevator panic, the anonymous emails, the board vote. "Marcus?" "Yeah?" "I'm glad you walked into the wrong room Monday night." "Me too." "Even though it complicated everything?" "Especially because it complicated everything." Claire turned to look at him. "Are you sure? This isn't going to be simple. My life, my job, the scrutiny." "Claire." Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. "I've been a single black father working night shifts for 3 years. Simple was never really an option for me. But this adds another layer of..." "Of what?" Happiness? Someone to count windows with when the elevators get scary? Saturday morning conversations over purple pancakes? Marcus took her hand. I've been careful for a long time, too. Protecting Ava, protecting myself. But you know what I realized this week? What? Being careful and being scared aren't the same thing. Careful means thinking things through, making good choices, protecting what matters. Scared means running away from anything that might hurt. Claire felt tears prick her eyes. And which one is this? This is careful. This is us choosing each other with our eyes wide open. As if on cue, Claire's phone buzzed with a text from Ava. Daddy says to tell you I drew you an owl for your office. It's blue this time. Blue is for calm dreams. Claire showed Marcus the message. He smiled and typed back. Tell her thank you, and that I'll see you both tomorrow for dinner if you want. Ava's response was immediate. Yes, I'll make spaghetti. She's 6, Marcus said. Her spaghetti is interesting. I'm sure it's perfect. They sat together until the stars came out, making plans for the week ahead. Dinner tomorrow. Ava's art show Friday. Maybe a trip to the Children's Museum on Saturday. Small, ordinary plans that felt extraordinary to Claire. As they prepared to leave, Marcus stood and offered Claire his hand. Walk you to your car? I'd like that. They walked through the quiet hotel lobby and out into the parking garage. At Claire's car, Marcus paused. Claire, can I kiss you? The question was soft, respectful, no pressure, no assumption. Claire looked into his kind eyes and realized she wasn't scared. For the first time in 20 years, the thought of someone getting that close didn't make her want to run. Yes, she said. Marcus stepped closer, giving her every chance to change her mind. When she didn't step back, he cupped her face gently in his hands. The kiss was soft, careful, perfect. It tasted like coffee and hope, and the promise of more Saturday mornings. When they broke apart, Claire rested her forehead against his. How was that? Marcus asked softly. Brave, Claire whispered. It felt brave. Good, because I'm planning to be brave with you for a very long time. 3 months later, Claire stood in her office looking at the collection of felt owls lined up on her windowsill. Blue ones for calm dreams. Purple ones for rainy nights. Yellow ones for sunny days. Green ones for new beginnings. Ava had made her one for every occasion. Her assistant knocked on the door. Your 3 o'clock is here. The acquisition team from Denver. Send them in. As the meeting began, Claire's phone lit up with a text from Marcus. Ava wants to know if you're coming to dinner tonight. She's making tacos. Claire typed back quickly. Wouldn't miss it. Tell her I'll bring the dessert. She says to make it purple. Of course she does. Claire put her phone away and turned her attention to the meeting. But throughout the afternoon, she found herself smiling for no reason the other executives could see. That evening, she stopped at the bakery and bought purple cupcakes. Then she drove to the apartment that had become her second home, where a little girl would show her the latest owl creation, and a patient man would listen to her talk about her day. Where she had learned that love wasn't about losing control. It was about choosing to trust someone else with your heart, day after day, in all the small and ordinary moments that made up a life. As Claire climbed the stairs to Marcus's apartment, she could hear Ava's laughter through the door. Her chest filled with the same warm feeling she got every time she came home to them. Home. That's what this was now. Not a place, but people. People who made felt owls and purple pancakes, and room for a woman who had forgotten how to let herself be loved. Claire knocked on the door, already smiling, before it opened. Miss Claire, Ava's voice called out. Did you bring purple cupcakes? I did indeed. Perfect! Tonight is a purple cupcake kind of night. As the door opened and Marcus's warm smile greeted her, Claire realized that Ava was absolutely right. Tonight, and every night with them, was exactly the right kind of night. The kind where careful hearts chose to be brave. The kind where love grew slowly, steadily, in all the best ways. The kind where a woman who had spent 20 years protecting herself finally understood what she had been protecting herself for. This quiet, ordinary, extraordinary love. This family that had chosen her right back. This happiness she had never dared to imagine, but somehow had been brave enough to reach for when it appeared in a wrong room on a Monday night. Claire stepped inside, into warmth and laughter, and the beautiful chaos of a life shared with people who mattered, into the rest of her story.